Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and today I have a special guest. His name is Dan Sykes. Hey, Dan, how are you?
Hey, Cesar. Nice to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Yeah, definitely. Right before we get started, I just want to give a quick introduction of who you are so people can kind of get to know you, and then we can dive in, all right? Sure. So Dan is an entrepreneur, filmmaker, bodyworker, and founder of the Somatic Training Network, a company dedicated to learning and sharing somatic arts and practices from around the world. Dan has studied somatic arts with instructors all over the world and earned the titles of Systema Bodywork Instructor and Martial Arts Instructor. Dan built and runs the world's only world-class recording studio that is also a video production center and somatic arts training center in which he records his fast-growing YouTube show, Emergency Fish Party. Dan is also currently working on his upcoming book, Somatic Fanatic. Wow, that's definitely a journey, and I'm always interested to know and learn more about how people get there, right? Before we dive into that, though, tell me more about yourself, your background. How was your upbringing? Let me know more about that.
Well, what brought me here really was getting pretty deep into a midlife crisis about 10 years ago. At 45 years old, I had moved to Maine with my first wife about 21 years ago, and I helped her with her company, and we scaled it from a very, very small company to having over 250 full-time employees when we sold to our partners in 2011. So I found myself at 45 years old, very fine financially and comfortable, and yet profoundly unhappy, profoundly unfulfilled, really wondering if the best of life was over. And through a series of circumstances, I wound up meeting some retired Russian special forces people who were training in a martial art called Systema, which is a military martial art, and it is really based on training your nervous system to very high levels of performance so you can improvise and talk yourself down from panic, even in pain, even in confusion, even in fear. And I did some yoga to prepare to train with these guys. I had been very non-physical my entire life. I grew up as a musician and filmmaker and writer and really living life in the head. And they brought me into this world of feeling more and more and more. And as I came to learn, and then in that discipline and many more, as it took my curiosity, that training our nervous system, people have been doing it for many thousands of years, and there's many, many disciplines that train the nervous system. And the ancient ones are familiar to all of us, yoga and qigong and tai chi. It's just that they don't use the word nervous system in their nomenclature because they're using the traditional words. These ancient disciplines, although they were recalibrating the nervous system, that is not the way they expressed it at the time. We now know, and science proves to us, that these ancient disciplines were in fact means of training the nervous system. And I wound up being curious. That road through the martial arts world led me to yoga, and specifically something we can talk about in a little while called the Feldenkrais method, which is a very, very gentle nervous system training for people with generally pretty serious problems.
Got it. Okay, so let's take it back a little bit. Obviously, you guys were pretty successful, as you mentioned, and then you stepped into your 40s and you found yourself in this place. What got you there? Tell me more about maybe those past experiences or things that were happening, in your life that kind of got you there, and what you had to overcome.
Well, I would say that I was a filmmaker, and I left filmmaking at a certain point to create a life, and made a decision I was happy about, to leave that and help my wife with what she was doing, and help the family business.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, like so many of us, there is this cost to turning your back on your dreams and your passions that you've had for a long time. Many of us are in this position where the practicalities of life make this a necessity. And what I came to realize is that this cost is that even when you get a place where you feel, now I'm secure, I've left my dreams because of the insecurity of pursuing them and my responsibilities and all the rest of these things. Even once we had achieved that security inside, I felt no emotional connection to any of the work we had done that brought us success. I felt practical satisfaction. I felt a sense of financial security. But as far as the meaning of life goes, I really felt that the 10 years work toward that financial security was completely devoid of any sense of artistic or spiritual or, kind of engaged satisfaction of me being who I am. I felt I was going through the motions with excellence for 10 years and profiting, and yet felt totally empty inside. I went back to filmmaking when we sold our company. I wrote, produced, directed, and starred in a feature film. It was 4 years' work. We shot the entire thing in Russia, and it did not get picked up. I also threw myself so much into this that it really sort of illustrated to my wife and I, that we've been together almost 20 years at that point, that we had come through this massive adventure of building our life, and yet we were at the end of that adventure, and what we were each looking for from that point forward was radically different. And so 4 years after selling the company, I came to this moment where I knew this 4-year effort of this movie was going to go nowhere, and my marriage was over. And so this is what brought me to this, the poisonous thinking you get into in this moment of life of, is the best over? Am I now just going to be like lonely and, whatever for the next 30 years while I'm just like sitting around waiting to die? Am I not invited to the party of the vigorous ones anymore? Right. And that's this hole of thinking I found myself in. And I did some psychotherapy and such, and it just wasn't taking root. And it wasn't until I did the exact opposite and started training toward physically feeling more. I was so emotional and so much emotional pain, and trying to do the traditional emotional solutions, talk-based therapies and and it just wasn't helping. But when I jumped in the cold water, when these Russians benevolently pounded me and struck me and with sticks and tools forced tension out of my rock hard body, my psyche was so tense that my body was like one piece of wood. I couldn't straighten my arms. Many people have this intense stiffness. Getting rid of that and focusing my attention on learning to feel more and more and more and more every day through the combination of slow motion movement and the intention of feeling what that movement feels like. Right now, I'm feeling my chest a little bit as I move my arm, my shoulder a touch, make sure my fingers are also loose because as I'm moving my shoulder, I'm realizing my hand was also getting tense for no reason.
Mm.
This kind of thing, this introspection that all of these disciplines do in their own way. Yoga does it in its own way. Qigong does it in its own way. Systema does it in its own way. Feldenkrais method, Hana somatics, there's dozens of disciplines and then variants within all those disciplines. A lot of us know how many kinds of yoga there are. Right. Each of these disciplines has that same richness. I came to realize that for me, mixing a practice in the gentle arts and the practice in the martial arts and the nervous system training somehow feeds on each other and makes this transformation of letting go of excess tension in your psyche and in your body simultaneously speeds up a lot when you're going in between, what would you say, the spiritual self-worth that's developed in the gentle arts and the I'm a creature right here, right now, and maybe you're giving me a problem, but maybe you have a problem sense of the martial arts version of this same learning how to feel and respond and resiliency. Those two I came to feel is a more holistic preparation for the variations of life and how to live that by tactical yielding, by letting go of things we're holding on to physically and emotionally that are really not serving us anymore.
Yeah, there's it's interesting. There's a lot of things that you mentioned that I'm sure you kind of alluded to it earlier, or I was reading this that midlife crisis, right? You went through that midlife crisis, and there's a few things that I'm sure many people that are listening to us can relate to that, and I want to dive in more into that stuff. One of the things you talked about is you had the financial means, you had all these different things, except you still felt like there was that emptiness in your life, right? So how would you, looking back now, how would you define success?
I would define success now differently. And I would say success is when you can live your life congruently, where you say what you feel what you say, you are somehow involved in work and impact that feels like you're bringing your unique abilities toward benefiting others. I think if for anyone who hasn't yet read the book, is it called Man's Search for Meaning of Life? I'm misremembering the title, I feel. But this really boils it down in the most extreme circumstances, that, feeling like you're doing something that reflects your inner truth, your individual inner truth. Even if you're doing something that lots of other people are doing, you're doing it in your way. And it is impacting the life of others in a positive way. And you're doing that in your family life, and you're doing that in your work life, and you're doing that in your social life. I think that is what gives you a sense of satisfaction, regardless of the types of problems you have, whether it's financial or this, or cousin Lucy is going down for the third time, or whatever. There is no escaping problems. Mm-hmm. So it's just the success is, can you do that with a sense of vibrancy and leading this journey through life led by curiosity as well as care. Of course, we all have the responsibilities, and we can't only lead with curiosity, but if we can keep that sense of childlike curiosity in the midst of the obligations, in the midst of the entangled situations that all of us in midlife, we don't have our obligations make us not free to do whatever. We are within our lives, and we are entangled, and people are counting on us and need our love and attention and support and all the rest of it. But how can you keep feeling a sense of yourself as you go through life? That's what I've come to feel as success, because success cannot just equal your bank account. It can't just equal cash flow, because all that stuff can be gone in 1 second.
Right.
And then you're counting on this. But if you're living with a sense of resiliency, you do what you got to do, and you see, all right, today, here's the people I care about, and we're going to heal, we're going to recover, and then we're going to figure out what else we're going to do, what might be possible. That's what nervous system training is all about. I tell people all the time in the training sense that when you're training for strength, you want to lead with discipline, you want to lead with a goal. It's goal oriented. When you're training your nervous system, it's completely the opposite. We never count reps when we're training our nervous system. Anyone who has ever been to a yoga class, they don't say do tree pose 10 times. Because if you're counting, you're using your logical mind. And to train your nervous system, there's only one way to do it, and that is have the greater portion of your attention physically feeling what is happening in your body. That is the point of all these disciplines. It's not just to go into some pose. It's to go into that pose and do that work so you can feel it. You can start analyzing what it feels like to do this, because that comparative sensation is what allows the nervous system to recalibrate and make things more efficient. We learn either by comparing physical sensations or light, or color, or whatever it is. If you're in a complete sphere that's deep purple and there's no shadows, after a while it's going to look gray to you. You won't even recognize that it's purple. So with sight, with feeling, with everything, our nervous system compares what's more blue versus what's more yellow, what's easier versus what's more difficult. How do I organize? Oh, if I bring my hips a little forward, that's actually easier when I'm blah, blah, blah. That's why slow motion and feeling it. This is our natural capacity to improve the function of our nervous system. And I think for me, the key was my emotional pain was so great. I switched over to a physical training, and that seemed to really help me break out of the mindset of I have a mountain of problems. I'm never going to get over the top of it. And now I'm just like in a leaky boat till I die kind of feeling, which is what happens in midlife crisis. I'm not 25. I'm not this, I'm not that anymore. And you lose sight of the fact of how much more you actually are at that age in a lot of the most important elements of life, and how you're not that when you're 25 and beach ready and blah, 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 blah. You may be that, but there's a lot of things that you're not, that you are when you're 45. And it's so easy to forget that, and bringing it back down to how do I actually feel inside right now, regardless of all the rest of it, is a practice that gives people not just better movement and better ease, but ease of mind. And it gives you an anchor that no matter what, I can go off in the quiet and I can feel what's happening in my body, and I can be pleased. I can feel where my tension is. I can feel where my ease is. I can feel where pleasure is as I move. This is available to all of us anytime, whether you're in a school, whether you're in a discipline, whether you just feel like going off to the side and moving in very slow motion and feeling your body just completely in an improvised sort of way and move your attention around. You don't need a guru. You don't need to do yoga or Tai Chi. Of course, these people are experts, and I'm not saying don't do that.
Right.
But what I'm saying is feel, 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 feel. That is the way around toward, it's a curious way to play toward greater wellness in your body and calm the psyche. It calms the chronic tension you're holding in your muscles, and it calms your psyche at the same time.
Yeah. And, and again, going back to the idea, what you're talking about, it's important to recognize that. And I think at one point in our lives, we started recognizing that that monetary value is not success, right? You even talked about, sometimes you deviate from your passion or the things that you really like, and you're doing something else. And, oftentimes you have people that go to work their 9 to 5, they might be making good money, yet they're miserable because they're there for the wrong reasons, right? And even from that perspective, you start separating yourself from the thing you're talking about, that feeling, the connecting to oneself, or even to connecting to the outer world, whether that's nature or just going out and really seeing the things. And I think one of the other things that we tend to forget is that I always tell people that if you're listening to this, you're watching this, whether you believe in God or the universe or whoever you believe, that greater power, that means that there's something bigger and greater for you to still do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to this thing. Like, just waking up today is a blessing, right? And sometimes we tend to forget those things, and we forget how far we've come. And again, we might go in through this one route, or we might be stuck in a relationship that we know we got to be out of that relationship, or whatever the case may be. So that's my next question too, is like, obviously, being married for 20 years or so, and saying, it's time for me to kind of separate that, and then throwing that into the mix of everything going on in your head. How do you, and we're talking about it, right? Obviously, it's that at that moment, how are you handling that? Because I think there's a lot of people that are stuck. I don't have the means. I don't have the job. I'm not successful monetary. My relationship is going bad. There's all these things that might be coming to one play. Yet for you, as you said, you connected to that motion. You did different things to help you get unstuck. Well, how do people recognize and say, you know what, I got to do this or that, or at least take the first step to start getting unstuck?
It's such a difficult question, because once there's kids in the mix, it's a very tricky formula of where do my desires and passions end, and the needs of kids to have a cohesive sense of home end. And like many modern people, ultimately we chose to split, and it had unpleasant repercussions on the kids. There's no question about it. So how you become unstuck, I think, is to focus on how can I do something that's going to positively impact others by adopting that, like you said, something beyond yourself, whether that's a philosophy, whether it's a deity, whether it's an organization that is doing some good for a lot of people in the world, whether it's, if you're an entrepreneur, whether it's creating a type of service. For me, it was finding this mission of realizing how that the disciplines that transform my life so profoundly, and for me, the two that made the biggest difference were Systema and Feldenkrais method. And for me, it helped me sort of like in a lifeboat situation, like a resuscitation thing. But the more it transformed my life, and the more I realized how obscure these two disciplines were, that almost no one had ever heard of either one of them. And as you can imagine, and one of them is Russian. So from a marketing standpoint, this is a major problem.
Yeah, right.
And yet the work is astoundingly profound and beyond anyone's culture or whatever. So knowing this, and Feldenkrais is as profound in a different way, but their culture is very scientific. Dr. Feldenkrais was a physicist, and then took on a second career of exploring awareness through movement. I highly recommend his book, Awareness Through Movement. So I wound up in this, what I think is pretty congruent adventure of, as a human being, diving into these disciplines to professionalize myself and to increase my own vibrancy in life and learn enough so I could teach. And then as a business person, start to tackle this very, very difficult problem of how can I create a scalable company whose mission is to bring this whole community of disciplines to people's general, normal, everyday knowledge, where these are not obscure little strange things you heard about somewhere or didn't hear about somewhere, but everybody understands that, oh, yoga and Tai Chi and Feldenkrais and Systema and these are all 31 flavors of the same ice cream. They are all training the nervous system. That's what they are, and they're all worthy of respect, and they have different ways of doing it. A big part of the dilemma was that, and part of what my book, Somatic Fanatic, is about, and Somatic Fanatic is done. It is available on Amazon. It's also the name of my YouTube video podcast, Somatic Fanatic. Look it up. You'll see in the book that part of the reason I was training with grand masters in many disciplines for about 10 years and continue to. And as a business person, as a sort of a marketer, a propagandist, I was very frustrated that every discipline I went to, and I would ask them, what does this all boil down to? What is this discipline doing? What are we involved in here? And no one could give me a concise answer. And at first I thought it was just the yogis are mysterious and they want to sort of keep it very complex and cosmic. And then I met the Russians, and I thought to myself, wow, these guys are soldiers. They're going to give me just the straight answer because they're so practical. And again, the answer was very mysterious. And then I went to Feldenkrais, and I was like, well, these guys are scientists, so they're definitely going to tell me what is it in one sentence. And they couldn't do it either. And I came to realize that there was this very real role for me to bring my unique ability into this situation, which is thinking about scaling companies and words and how to distill words. And one day it came to me, this 3-word phrase of nervous system training, and it stopped me literally in my tracks. And I said, that's it. That's what all these disciplines are doing, that no one has just put it down to its essence. I guess that's what I'm here to do, is just to talk about these things in plain language so normal people can get past the exoticness of it, and we can have first just a practical conversation about how training your nervous system can help you with this problem and that problem. And I become the ambassador, talking to different people about what they're going through, explaining to them how training their nervous system can help them. And then I'm the matchmaker that helps them find an appropriate discipline and an appropriate couple instructors they connect with, so they can start on their particular journey of what they need to train their nervous system to get going, to take things to the next level, whoever it might be.
Yeah. Earlier today, you were talking about cold showers and talking about the nervous system. I hear a lot that cold showers are really good to really shock the system, the nervous systems, and it really helps you in many different aspects. I don't know if there's anything that you can kind of share on in regards to that, because I know people get scared to get on a cold shower for even a minute or two, right? And I've seen people that literally go into ice cold, tubs of ice and water, and they do it for at least 5 minutes. So is that something that you also practice, that you recommend, or what is, how does that assist?
I am not a big fan of cold showers, but I do cold water stuff. And I'm currently, this is day 8 of my 33-day cold water challenge, where I'm going to be in cold water for the better part of a month. It was originally 30 days, and I had to miss a day. There was just no way around it. So I penalized myself. At this point, it's 33 days.
Gotcha.
We'll see if I can stick to 33 days. If I miss another day, I'm going to stick another 3 days on. But anyway, I'm again leading with curiosity. Gotcha. I want to see, I either pour water slowly over my head from 2 buckets, or I get in a cold pool or the ocean up here, because it's plenty cold up here right now. Any of these types of training, we call them contrast training, where suddenly your environment is changing in a way that's actually safe, but it triggers an alarm in your nervous system as if you're in great danger. And cold water therapy is probably the most well-known of these types of things. And what it does is it brings you in to what's called the sympathetic state of nervous system function. Panic would be the everyday word. And what most people do, whether it's Tuluvian breathing, what's called the Wim Hof method in the West, we know it as a very famous method to prepare yourself before you go in the water. He's very famous for a routine you do with breathing before you go in the water. I trained with people who more had a bunch of things to do with breathing without preparation, and now you're in the water and you feel the shock, and what do you do to get control of yourself? But really, this imposition of discomfort in a safe way and getting your nervous system to jump into that I'm in danger function, and learning the tips and tricks of breathing and games of attention and movement to calm yourself down, even though you're in discomfort. I would call this the martial side of training. We do a stick massage that does the same thing. You're in no danger. You're not in a fight. You're laying down, just like cold water. You're not actually in danger. You're not in a fight. You don't have to think about defending yourself or additional danger, but it's shocking your system to the point in a controlled way that you can do some exercises to try to get more resiliency and try to get a better handle on your nervous system. The other thing it does, if you do it a lot, is that particular sensation becomes a lot less frightening to your nervous system over time, because you're doing it enough where now it knows, oh, there is no danger. So a lot of people claim that if you do cold water work for 6 weeks in a row, more or less, it changes around to where it's no longer uncomfortable, and actually your nervous system craves it every day. And I know, not through cold water, but I know through getting sticks and even sharp sticks poked into my back and my legs and things, and even we take heavy whips and make them into loops and hit with the flat part of the loop. So it's still quite a, it's quite a whack, but it's not like the tip of a whip where it's going to cut you or something. So even those impacts, I've done that so often that even when I haven't seen my master in a while, and he's digging into me for the first time, like COVID, it was over a year I didn't get any. So I definitely had a lot of tension in my back when he started, but it didn't register as pain in any way, because I've had over 300 of these procedures. So my nervous system, I think, even though I could feel there was tension and there was a lot of pressure, I guess now my system just knows the benefit and knows Alexi and knows that there's no danger. So it doesn't even register as pain anymore. And I have a feeling it's that same familiarity that starts with the cold water as well. And eventually you come, your system comes to see the benefit that has come from it more than the shock of how much cold you're feeling. That's what I hear.
Yeah, right.
I'm on my way to, I'm hoping it's true, because so far the first 7 days, I'm really having to like use the challenge and the public. I don't have a buddy that's doing it with me. I mean, doing anything like this, it's great to have an accountability buddy.
Right. Yeah.
I don't have one here. So I've been doing it on Facebook, which puts the pressure on me to jump in the cold water.
Actually, yeah, exactly.
I don't want to do it.
No, that's good. So let's talk about the idea of the book. What triggered that? When will that be released? And what are some of the things that maybe some takeaways that people might have from your book?
Yeah, the book is already released. The audio book is going to be out in about a month from this taping. So early spring 2022. Really, I felt that the book needed to exist because this word somatic, meaning nervous system training, itself is so exotic. This is the word I chose to bring the world to this understanding, and yet nobody knows what that is either. So I felt that telling my story of how I came from such a low point psychologically through a new life mission. I went back into business. I've invested a lot of years and a lot of money into building where I am now, Elk River Studios. I went back to school, learned the cutting edge marketing and scaling things, because the last time I did it was probably 15, 16 years ago. So I got myself up to speed on the latest and greatest. how, no matter how entangled you are, just like in life, just like in Systema, we do a drill where you lay on the floor and 6 or 7 guys lay on top of you. And it's hard to breathe. Just like in life, you feel constricted, you feel bound by circumstance, but there's always a pinky, there's always a toe, there's something you can move. And by moving that, you can find this way out from under anything over time. Maybe not right this second, but you can work toward something that's in the general direction of the light. And the light is living a congruent life where you know you're positively impacting others beyond yourself. That journey, and you can feel more. The thing that I found is that most people in pain make a very understandable miscalculation that feeling less will reduce their pain. This is what all addiction is based on, either distraction or numbing. You're either addicted to a numbing from your pain, or you're addicted to a distraction of some delicious thing that's out of control to distract you from your pain.
Right.
And what I found through training the nervous system is that actually, to deal with long-term pain, you need to train to feel profoundly more, not a little bit more, profoundly more, 10 times more over time. And what happens is you come to learn in training that even if my neck really hurts, even if there's somebody like jamming sharp sticks in my neck, like it really hurts. The space in between my toes is feeling a nice light breeze. They're perfectly comfortable. My ankle feels free as a baby. My knee feels great. It's warm. The more you feel, the more your pain becomes a smaller percentage of that total experience. And the more you let go, the tension in your body, which reduces the pain. You're not trying to get rid of the pain. You're trying to feel that there's other things simultaneously happening other than the pain. And in doing that, your tension goes down, and any irritation, whether it's psychological or physical, reduces. As all this physical tension comes out of your body, your mood improves. We think of them as two different things, psyche and body. But we've just divided them as courses of study because they're each so complex. We can't study the totality, but our psyche and our body are never separate. In reality, we're from a seed. We grow up. You cannot have an emotional reaction without a physical reaction, and vice versa. If you are yelling at a worker who's laying around on the job and it's really irritating you, it's the 6th time you've seen him goofing off on the payroll, and you're giving him what for, and somebody comes up to you with a day-old kitten behind you and rubs it on the back of your neck, your anger will go down. It will go down, no matter what. If you see the long-lost somebody at the airport and you just have been waiting for this moment and you're so overcome, and you take that first step towards them and somebody drops a bowling ball on your foot, your mood will change.
Yeah.
There is no way for an emotional thing to happen without a physical representation of that. And there's no way to relax the body without a relaxation of the psychological state. They are intertwined, and the nervous system deals with physical pain and psychological pain nearly identically. There are some differences on a neurological level, but they are nearly identical. Pain is pain to your nervous system, whether it's emotional or it's physical, and training the nervous system to greater degrees of function will reduce both of those kinds of pain without medication, without surgery, without somebody having to come and fix you, because it's your natural capacity to move in slow motion and feel it. That's you. So you're getting a sense of agency that you are working to have your nervous system bring you wellness. You're not waiting for the expert to come and fix you. And even if that's just one of the things you're doing to overcome pain, it's a major component because it gives you something you can do that's as easy as you want it to be. Because you can train your nervous system just by literally just like moving your finger up and down or imagining you're doing it. So you don't have to break a sweat. You don't have to get out of bed if you're bedridden. You can start this journey wherever you are with health. You don't need to be healthy. You don't need to be prancing around. You can be anyone and head toward more wellness on your own power.
Yeah. And it's amazing that, definitely all this information is very intriguing. So do you talk about this on your YouTube channel? Is this kind of like some of the things that you talk about? Tell me more about your YouTube channel.
Yeah. Somatic Fanatic is our new YouTube channel. We do 3 episodes that are, it's 60 to 90 minutes, and we make them in 3 packs. Generally, we pick an ideal client. Our first one we just got off the production line was sponsored by Painworks, and that is all 3 episodes are aimed at lower back pain, and we're interviewing people and we're showing tips, and each episode has a completely free class attached to it that you can take absolutely free. Generally, we're interviewing someone on every episode, generally an instructor. And then every instructor is required to provide us a 30 to 60 minute free class. So our viewers can not only learn how to do what they're talking about, but then they can actually try it themselves. In the cases where I'm interviewing someone who's not an instructor, I provide a free class. But every episode on our YouTube channel, they'll be in 3 packs, 3 for lower back pain. We're doing neck pain this week. We're about to do 3 episodes on neck pain. And we'll go through this whole big circle and do specialized episodes for everyone from working moms who have aches and pains because they're carrying kids around all day, through entrepreneurs, through elders who've just fallen and are recovering from a fall, to collegiate athletes. We are in this, of course, we have our online platform called somaticlab.live, and we have all the disciplines under the sun under one roof to train nervous system training, and we match people up. But before we get there, the Somatic Fanatic podcast is really before all that, just to talk and to try and to make people understand. Before we get into which discipline is best for you, let's just talk about and try out the fact that training your nervous system actually will give you benefit, and that it is worth your time and attention. And then we can head you toward having a place to do that on a regular basis, because you have to do it on a regular basis. You can't read 20 books on yoga and do it. Just like music, it's the same thing. You must play your instrument, and we are the most magnificent instrument there is. And learning to play that instrument, working those 3 times a week into your schedule, is what will change your life. Not doing a yoga class. Deciding that 3 days a week, I am going to train my nervous system. 3 days a week, I'm going to the gym. I'm counting my reps. I'm building my strength. Now it was 3 minutes. Now it's 2 minutes, 45 seconds. All that measuring, of course, is good. What we're trying to tell people is that health really has 3 major components: nutrition, strength, and nervous system training. This is the missing part of the Western mindset about health, is that you must also devote your 3 times a week to training your nervous system. And that's not about reps. That's about feeling, learning to physically feel magnitudes more over time, and getting all the vast benefits of training your nervous system to feel more and more and more.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. If people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Somatic Fanatic. That's it. All roads Somatic Fanatic. I picked that title because it rhymes.
Yeah.
I guess at the beginning, I am the Somatic Fanatic, but really Somatic Fanatic is going to be our tribe. We're about to start our 30-day challenges. I'm doing the first one, sort of like as an example. And in spring 2022, we're going to start these quarterly events that lead to our 18-hour live marathons that we do 4 times a year, where we announce the winners and do all kinds of stuff for a whole day, 4 times a year. So we are going to invite people to do 30 days free somatic training and join contests where they can win lots of great prizes. And the top prize for the first one is going to be a trip for 2 with flight, with accommodations to join us here in Maine to do one of our live multidiscipline training events. And t-shirts and all kinds of great stuff other than that. But we're going to always have some kind of grand prize that people can compete for. And they do it by telling us their story. And every story will start with, hi, I'm Mindy, and I'm a somatic fanatic, and bing, bing, bing. And they tell us their story. And we do another one where we like 10, we put it up, and just before the marathon, everybody can watch and vote, and the winner wins the grand prize. And everybody's a winner who trains their nervous system, because you can do it. If you don't want to break a sweat, you don't have to break a sweat. You want to break a sweat, you can absolutely break a sweat. There's tons of ways of doing it. And I know lots of the best people, and I'm really excited about the opportunity to match you up with a kind of discipline that seems like it's just right for where you are, and show you some other things so you can embrace my philosophy, which is to be a curiously respectful neighbor. That, of course, I view training the nervous system like music or food. I'm not joining a team, and that's my team. I'm looking for a home base, like in music. I'm a rock guy. That's my home base. But, you still go to the opera once a year, and you still go here, and you go to the honky tonk when you're in Texas and do some dancing, because that's what makes life a party. If you're at a wedding, of course you choose the fish, chicken, or beef. But when the waiter comes around with the hors d'oeuvres, you grab them. That's what your nervous system wants also. Your nervous system wants the surety of repetition, and it wants variety, and that's how it learns. So at somaticlab.live, we have all kinds of disciplines. So even when you find one that you love the most, we have lots of opportunities for you to just try a little something different, because you just feel like it on a Thursday night.
Yeah. That's awesome. My last question for you, Dan, is for the people that are listening to us and are watching us, what would be one thing you can say that they can start doing if they're going through any challenge, whatever challenge that might be, they can start doing to start overcoming that challenge?
I would say look to your breathing. Number one. Most people, 50% of people inhale through their mouth all the time. And this is, and I just did it as I said that, very, very bad for health. Breathing in through your mouth is extremely bad for health. The reason we get into this habit, many people get into this habit, is in the last 300 years, the shapes of our skulls have actually been changing. Human skulls 300 years and older. Every skull that's ever been found has perfect teeth. Their teeth were not getting mashed together like we are, and we need braces to pull. Our jaws are thinning, and also this part of our face is thinning. We have almost 30% less area of our nostrils going in than humans used to. So I'm definitely one of these people. I have this, I don't know what you call it, but my nose like goes in, in from my skull there. So I always have this sense of having to almost fight to get air in the nose because it's so small. And because of that, you start getting into this habit because it's so much wider, so much easier. And yet this is an indirect route to the lungs. It's an indirect route to get that oxygen into the bloodstream. And what happens, especially when you're panicking and working hard and coming through the mouth, you are not dealing with the carbon dioxide as quickly, and that builds up and it triggers all kinds of anxiety. Now there's two schools of thought and training, and if you watch Somatic Fanatic, we're going to talk about this ad nauseum, I'm sure. There's some kinds of training where you're trying to get more oxygen more efficiently into your system. And then there's other types of training where you're trying to handle elevated carbon dioxide levels and not have it freak you out. And both of those have their value, and training in both will make you super I would think.
Yeah.
I have not yet done so much of the carbon dioxide tolerance training, but that's where my curiosity is at the moment. We have so many things on somatiglab.live that I haven't trained in a very good deal of them. So in some senses, I'm also a student on my own site. I don't teach on the site. I teach on Somatic Fanatic podcast. I view myself as the educated doorman. I bring you through the door and I say, oh, this person's here and this woman is great at that. And I get you going and I talk to you about it. And then I point you in the right direction and send you on your way. That is what I feel my role is. And to be the person who's constructing these, what over 3 years will be 99 conversations about nervous system training with 99 different kinds of people who have 99 kinds of challenges. Every one of those conversations will have 3 episodes of the podcast, 3 free classes, a free workshop of free classes in addition to that for that same kind of problem. And then if you've gone through all that training, you'll know if the time is right for you to subscribe and join our community and have somewhere to train on a regular basis. If it's not right for you, maybe we'll see you later on. We don't badger people once we get their email. We do what we call campaigns of encouragement. We encourage them to train. And if after a certain amount of time, the time is not right for them to subscribe, we back off. And we wait a couple months and then we send them what we call a reacquisition email. So, are you still interested in less back pain naturally? If you say yes, great. If you are, here's some more episodes of the podcast you might want to check out. So there's no offer in anybody's face anytime. Our intent is to make people aware that they have this natural capacity and get them going in it. And then if you want to train with us online, great. If you want to go down to your local Qigong studio that's 3 doors down from your apartment and you've known the guy 20 years and you just never walked through the door, go there and do it. As long as you're training your nervous system, I'm happy. And I feel like we're doing our job. And if you want to train with us, we have top instructors in every discipline imaginable and a nice growing community of people where you can train online live and on demand. And awesome. We're happy to train with you.
Awesome. No, I love it. I love it. Well, Dan, I really had a really good time talking to you. A lot of great information that you have given us. So thank you for being on the show today. I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Cesar. I really appreciate being invited. And I hope I gave your listeners and viewers something to think about for their own.
Oh, you definitely did. There's definitely a lot of things that I took away from this. I took a lot of notes. I'm sure our listeners are doing the same thing. So Dan, once again, thank you so much. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Please make sure that you go ahead and connect with Dan. Check out his podcast. Go to the YouTube channel. Get his book. Connect with him on social media. And do me a favor. Share this message because somebody needs to hear this message. And I'll see you guys at the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Goodbye.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.